Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm sorry I haven't released any videos in a while. I've been holding off till the Dark Brotherhood update, also getting some more maxed out characters and gear to bring you more content on different classes, DPS builds, tanking builds, as well as in the future some more healing builds. Anyway, let's get started. So this build video is going to go over the PvE side of my Stamina Nightblade bow build. This build focuses on putting out consistent damage by staying far away and safe. Since we use the bow, we never have to stop our DPS on the boss or in trash pulls, like some other builds would have to do since they're melee. So let's get started. We're going to go over abilities, gear, as well as champion points. Alright, so let's start off with the abilities. There's 3 different setups you can use with this build to fit whatever your playstyle is. So the set I'm using right now is a bow on both bars. So my first bar is my single target bar. I use poison injection. This is a really strong dot and also has a execute once your target gets below 50% health. This is a buff that I keep up at all times. My next spammable ability is Lethal Arrow. This has a 1-second cast time, but it hits like a truck. I weave this in with light attacks for consistent damage, and this is my spammable ability. Next off, I have Relentless Focus. I usually keep this up at all times because of the Spectral Bow down here. The 4 light attacks or heavy attacks will let you proc that Spectral Bow. So let me show this for you guys real quick. So after 4 light attacks, get the Spectral Bow. Your ability will light up blue down there. And you just fire that. Hits for about 10k on a non-crit. So once I clear this troll out of here, get on my video please. Alright, so back to the skills. Relentless Focus is a really strong ability to use as a Stamina Nightblade no matter what you're doing. This will increase your damage done by 8%. This does not show up on your stat sheet, but it's a flat 8% damage done, either Magicka or stamina damage. The reason why we take the Relentless Focus morph is because this also gives us 10% stamina recovery, and it also does disease damage this patch, as you can see down there at the bottom. So this is a strong ability to keep up at all times, and like I said, we weave in light and heavy attacks in between our Lethal Arrow and between Poison Injection, so we're keeping this up constantly. Next ability is something I've just been trying out, and I think I'm going to like it a lot. It's Lightweight Beast Trap. Now, most people will use Rearming Beast Trap or Rearming Trap. What that does is lets you put it right down at your feet, and it hits once, and then it resets, and then it hits again. So it's really good for a melee build, but since we're using a bow and we're staying at range, I chose Lightweight Beast Trap, and this will let you throw it 28 meters away. So what that looks like is the yellow circle right here on the grounds, and I can just throw it down, and I never have to get close to my boss or the trash pull to spam my arrows. And this is important because for one of your bow passives, you get, where is it at? The first one, long shots. It gives you a damage bonus of up to 12% against enemies at a longer range. So what this pretty much means is the farther away you are from your target, the more damage you will do, which in return gives you higher DPS. So for our last buff is something I really don't recommend, but I don't really know what else to fit onto this bar right now. So I just chose Camouflage Hunter just to give me that flat crit chance, which really isn't important since we're going to be using potions. The Minor Berserk, which you get from stealth or crouching, also doesn't matter since we're getting that from Relentless Focus, but it's just gonna help me get that weapon crit up at all times just in case I miss a potion, and it also gives me a percentage of weapon damage, as you can see from the Slayer passive and Fighter's Guild that changed this patch for Dark Brotherhood, also increasing your weapon damage by 3% for each Fighter's Guild ability slotted. So for our ultimate, we're going to be using Flawless Dawnbreaker. This patch got a huge buff because it now deals physical damage over 5 seconds. And also, while this is slotted, it's also going to do increase your weapon damage by another 5%. And again, last patch this was 8%, but they lowered it down to 5% because of the Slayer passive giving you that 3%. So this pretty much does the same thing. It's still 8%. And then we're also getting 3% from Camo Hunter and 3% from Lightweight Beast Trap. So it really gets your weapon damage up, which is kind of important on this build since our weapon damage isn't too high. So switching to our other bar, this is our AoE bar. We're going to be using Razor Caltrops. I do not have it morphed right now, it's just that Caltrops, but this is going to be your main AoE bar, so we have that slotted here. This is a good, huge AoE to cover up pretty much everyone in the area. It also reduces your movement speed by 30%, which is kind of nice. Next we have Endless Hail. Now this got changed this patch also. It no longer does the fire damage, it's now physical damage. So we keep this up at all times, even in single target, because this does, right now, unbuffed, more than 2,000 DPS, damage per second. As you can see down in the character sheet, 1,096 physical damage, but that procs every half second for 10 seconds. So this translates to a lot of DPS even in single target. Next up we have Acid Spray. This is another core ability to our build, which we're focusing around poisons if you haven't been able to tell already. This is our main AoE spammable ability. This is what we're going to combo with Caltrops and Endless Hail. This will also reduce their movement speed by another 40%, which is really nice, and it also does the poison damage, so this will scale up better for us. I take this over Bombard just because it is that poison damage. Next up we have Siphoning Attacks. Siphoning Attacks is really important for this build because our stam recovery is not going to be that high. Keeping this up, it also costs Magicka, so it doesn't put any strain on our stamina resources, but keeping this up will help maintain our stamina. Last ability we have Reaper's Mark. Now Reaper's Mark is a really great ability in PvE as a Magicka or Stamina Nightblade. I highly recommend it for either builds, no matter what you're doing for PvE. And the reason is because of the second paragraph here, right here. When a marked enemy dies, you heal for 60%. That's not the important part, but the last part, Major Berserk, increases your damage done by 25%. So like I said before, just like Relentless Focus, this is Minor Berserk. This is going to give you 8% of damage done. This is all damage, magic or stamina damage. This is going to give you another 25% for 5 seconds. This lets you destroy trash pulls with this ability. You mark the lowest health target, you can switch Lethal Arrow Poison Injection combo, switch back to your AoE bar and Acid Spray along with your other two ground-based AoEs, and you'll just shred through trash pulls. So for my ultimate on this bar, I'm currently using Soul Harvest. Now the reason why I'm not using Incapacitating Strike is because of the last passive right here. While slotted, anytime you kill an enemy you gain 9 ultimate. So pretty much we're on our AoE bar, we're going to be killing lots of ads, lots of trash pulls. So we're going to get lots of ultimate from this Soul Harvest. And the other morph does the disease damage, and this does Magicka damage or stamina. But I'm not worried about it because we're not using Soul Harvest pretty much at all. Now, if you have Mage's Skill 10, you're going to want Meteor and Shooting Star. Shooting Star is going to be a lot better. This is going to allow you to actually be able to use an ultimate on this character, because right now I don't really have an option to use an ultimate at all. Both of these are pretty much melee. So that's a little downside right now. I need to get Mage's Skill 10 so I can use Meteor. So that's pretty much it for the bow setup that I use currently. Next, we're going to go over a little bit easier setup and something you can use. But the bow setup is really good because I do use potions to get major brutality as well as the crit chance. And these are the potions I use, Essence of Weapon Power. So let's go on to the next setup. Alright, so the next setup is a little bit different but easier to use. It's not as expensive. We're not using our potions to get our main buffs now. Since we're using a two-hander, we can now use Rally. Now, this is going to give you a little bit less DPS, but it's cheaper. So starting on our two-hand bar this time, we're going to keep Caltrops. Again, this is a really strong AoE. You just use it as a stamina build. Next up, we're going to use Siphoning Attacks on the bar again. Same thing, just help us maintain our stamina. Now we moved Relentless Focus onto our two-hand bar to make room on our bow bar. Same thing, it's going to give you that 8% extra damage and stam recovery, and this also translates over to your bow bar. You don't lose the 8% damage done and the stam recovery when you switch over to the bow. So Vigor, it's just going to be a self-heal, just a placeholder ability, nothing really else you can put here. And then Rally. This is our major brutality buff that we need. It's also a really good burst heal. And then again, Soul Harvest, again I would switch that out for Shooting Star. Now on our bow bar, it's moved around a little bit. We keep Poison Injection again, great ability. It's our mandatory ability as well as Lethal Arrow for this build. Acid Spray got moved to this bar since this is our only bow bar. This is going to be our main AoE. And then Reaper's Mark got also moved to our bow bar because our main AoE ability is now on our bow bar. And we keep Lightweight Beast Trap for the extra weapon damage as well as the Minor Force, which gives us that crit damage of 12% that I forgot to mention, which we keep this up at all times. And again, Flawless Dawnbreaker, the extra weapon damage. And that's pretty much up for this setup. And we have one last setup, which is a little bit different, and I haven't really tested out yet, but it should still be good, and it's fun to play around with if it suits your playstyle. So let's check that out. Alright, so for our last setup, which I see a lot of people using for even a melee build, this is the dual wield and bow setup. Now, most people use the dual wield as their main weapons. However, I'm still going to use the bow as my main weapon for this setup. So if you're currently using the dual wield and bow setup and you want to try out this build, this is probably what you're going to do. So for skills, I have Ambush. This is going to be our gap closer, and this is just going to help us get onto our target easier and faster when we switch to this bar from our bow bar, so we don't have to run up to the target and lose DPS as we get closer. Like I said, when you're on your bow bar, the closer you are to your target, the less DPS you do. So Siphoning Attacks we keep. Again, maintain that stamina. It's important. Relentless Focus. Again, weapon damage and magic damage by 8% and stam recovery. Also that Spectral Bow. It's important to keep up at all times. Now we have an Execute. This is what may make this side shine, as my other two setups don't have an Execute. So as the boss gets below 25% health, and even on PlayStation now, we're able to see ads have percent health, as you can see up there at the top, right underneath my compass. Champion 160 Bear. Its health is at 40k, and its percent is at 100%. We used to not be able to see this, but now we can, so it helps a lot when we need to execute. Killer's Blade got a huge change this patch. It got switched to disease damage. This is important because it works with our champion points now. And also when the target dies within 2 seconds, you get 18% of your max health back. It's just a self-heal, not really important, but this thing can crit for over 20k unbuffed. It's pretty great. At least that's how hard it hits with this build. It may hit harder with different setups, and I'm also only wearing purple armor right now, so I haven't seen how hard it can hit. Caltrops, again, we keep it. It's important. And our bow bar is the same. This is a pretty basic setup for the bow. You got your poison injection, the lethal arrow, like I said, the lightweight beast trap that I've been playing around with, but it's gonna work. I just know it is, and flawless dawnbreaker for the weapon damage. So that's it for the abilities and my 3 different setups. So let's go over gear next. Okay, so I just wanted to go over some passives real quick. I take all the Nightblade passives, so I'm going to focus on the bow passives. The first one is long shots. I explained it already. 12% extra damage the further away you are. The extra crit chance is also important. Since we have low crit, the reduced cost of bow abilities by 20% help maintain our stamina resources by quite a bit. And then the important one is right here, it's Hawkeye. So I see a lot of people using the bow just spamming sniper poison injection, and they're handicapping themselves. They're not able to pull on as much DPS as they could. The trick is to weave in light or heavy attacks in between your bow abilities, so you can get up to 15% extra damage on top of everything. So it's going to stack. It's really going to help with your DPS quite a bit. Also down there's hasty retreat, so that's also going to be pretty important, and it's just a lot of fun to play around with. Alright, so next I'm going to go over my racial passives. I take those two. Tough is going to give me that health, the conditioning is going to give me the stamina, and red diamond is not going to be important since we're using a bow. It only applies to melee. So 12% health, 10% stamina. It's really nice on a Nightblade. It's going to make you not as squishy. That's the race I chose. Khajiit would probably be better for this build, for the stealth bonus, the crit chance, and the stam recovery. I would also highly recommend Redguard if you're worried about managing your stamina resources. And then underneath that, I would recommend Wood Elf for the stealth bonus and a whole lot of the stam recovery. So those are my top picks for races. I would definitely say Imperial and Khajiit are the best. Also, medicinal use is a great passive to want. You're going to want if you're going to be using the bow setup so you can get your weapon damage and crit chance up at all times. So if you haven't already been able to tell, I'm wearing Morong Tong and Hawkeye. It's a setup that's been used in the past by Deltia. I've been playing around with it to see if it's going to work this patch, and I really think it's going to. I've been hitting really hard. So I'm not the original person who thought of this setup. I kind of took inspiration from Deltia's gaming. But I do use the Morong Tong Hawkeye. It is only all purple right now. I plan on getting that gold in the future. So I have the helmet, Morong Tong. Again, these are not gold enchants either. They are probably only blue enchants. But the Morong Tong set gives us weapon damage, max stamina, more weapon damage, and then the 5th piece is what makes this build shine. It's the Morong Tong. Your attacks cause targets to take 10% more damage from poison. And as you can tell, this build revolves around poison, so this works really well. And then the second 5-piece set we're running is Hawkeye. Again, I only have it purple, and even has a magic enchant on it, which I need to be changing in the future. So more max stam for 2 and 3. 4 is going to be weapon damage. 5 is reduced cost of bow abilities by 5%, increased damage by 5%. This is important because, again, our stam recovery is pretty low. Our resource management kind of sucks. So that reduced cost of bow abilities by 5% is huge. So, as you notice, we don't have a lot of crit chance with this build. It's all weapon damage, all max stam, but I'm still able to achieve over 70% crit with this build because of my Mundus Stone. Also, the armor right now only comes in well fitted, so you're gonna be dodge rolling around a lot. It not really, but it's kind of fun to just be able to sprint and dodge roll quite a bit more. Um, I notice it quite a bit. Um, it's just because you're wearing all well fitted though. You don't really need to be dodge rolling or sprinting a lot in PvE. It's just not needed. Maybe to get out of the red AoE, but dodge rolling is not that huge. So, jewelry. Um, Again, I only have the blue jewelry right now. Um, I believe there's purple jewelry. I haven't seen any yet, but the forums patch notes had said that there's going to be a chance for a purple drop. Just haven't seen it yet. The necklace of Morag Tong only comes in healthy. 2 rings of Hawkeye only come in robust. So for the rings, I only have stamina enchants. It's just what came with it, and then the neck is a disease enchant. It's also what came with it. These are not desired enchants. I would most likely just put the weapon damage enchants here soon if I can't find the purple jewelry. But weapon damage is what you're going to want if you're struggling to maintain your stamina. Then you're definitely going to want to maybe put 1 or 2 region enchants. So going back over the armor, exactly what I'm wearing. Head Morag Tong, chest Hawkeye, shoulder Hawkeye, waist Morag Tong, hands Morag Tong, legs Hawkeye, and boots are Morag Tong. This gives me 5 pieces Hawkeye and Morag Tong up at all times on both bars. So going on to the weapons now. Right now I just have a marksman bow. The marksman bow is my single target bar. This really isn't that great. I would much rather prefer to have the Maelstrom bows on both bar, especially since I'm using Endless Hail on my back bar. So that's what I would like, at least 1 on my back bar, and I do have Precise on both bars. If you can't get Maelstrom weapons, I would recommend on your back bar to put an infused bow with a weapon damage enchant. This will get your weapon damage to go up quite a bit, and that's really going to help a lot. You're really only going to be on your AoE bar, that back bar, for trash pulls, so it's not really like you need to be pulling insane DPS numbers. And then on the main bar, this is gonna be most likely, I've been playing around with the Crusher enchant. Not sure if I like it, but I would definitely keep this Precise. And if I did have the Maelstrom bow on the back bar, I would make this front bar a weapon damage enchant so I can keep that procced. And that's pretty much everything for weapons and armor. Poisons. Alright, so up next I'm going to show you guys my character sheet fully buffed. But first I'm just going to show how I engage in a fight with my buffs and my bar rotation. So let me just find a target up here real quick. It's a giant I can pick on. So first off, I usually make sure my food is up before I go into a dungeon or trial. So I've been using max health, max stam food. Lasts for an hour. Pretty nice. If you're having issues with stamina management, I would recommend the Rothgar food, which is a little bit less health, but it's going to give you that stam recovery, which is really important. The thing you'll have to remember is using the Rothgar food, your DPS is going to go down because your abilities don't just scale off weapon damage, they scale off your max stamina too. That's a lot of something a lot of people forget, excuse me. So, to start off our fight, we're going to be on our AoE bar. All we're going to start on this bar for is Reaper's Mark to reduce their armor, and then I'm gonna drink a potion before I switch. So I need to change Camouflage Hunter on, which really isn't important. Again, that ability doesn't really matter. But Reaper's Bark, switch bars, we're stealthed. Relentless Focus to get that 8%, and we're gonna snipe, light attack, poison injection, and then we're just gonna rotate our buffs. Throw the trap. I missed the trap. That's okay though. And then Relentless Focus, which crit for I believe 22k there. So usually when we have a tank, it's going to be a lot easier to land traps and other things like that. And also if it's a target that has more health, we're also going to be able to put down our AoEs too. And our AoEs are still going to rack up to quite a bit of damage in even a single target fight. So right here, I'm gonna aggro some stuff here. So Caltrops is down, then Endless Hail. Just that alone is doing quite a bit of damage. So again, we also put up Reaper's Mark. This is gonna give us that major berserk once that target dies. Also want to keep up Endless Hail. I believe it lasts a little bit shorter than Scorched Earth now, by a couple seconds, so just be ready for that. Also, Endless Hail says that it lasts for 10 seconds. Something you're going to want to remember is it's about between 1 and 3 seconds that this ability starts to do damage. So as you shoot that arrow up in the air and it comes down, it doesn't start doing damage till about 1 second after you press that ability. So our timer is 10 seconds, but when you're doing your bar rotation, think of it more like 11 or 12 seconds until you need to recast this. Also for bar rotation, we usually, when we come back to our AoE bar, and we're going to switch back to our single target bar for a boss fight, start off with Caltrops, kind of short animation, and then we're going to put down Endless Hail. Now that's really long animation, so we end with this ability so that we can, the second time we press this, we bar swap, and it just shoots the arrow up, and we're already on a second bar. It cuts the animation in half. A really nice animation cancel you want to use when you're trying to get the most out of your DPS and out of your character. Something else you can do on PC and on PlayStation now, I believe it's under interface, we're able to quick cast ground-based abilities. I don't remember where it is right now. Maybe it's under gameplay. But you can do that now, and it's really nice. I would highly recommend it. It's going to here it is right here. Quick cast ground abilities, automatic or on. So before you would see the yellow circle on the ground. Now that I put it on, I just press it once and it automatically throws it down. So I'm going to be playing with this now. It's really nice. I highly recommend it and get used to it. So for our buffs in our character sheet, again, this is with purple armor, blue jewelry, no weapon damage and chance, fully buffed with our potion, and on our main bar, our character sheet looks like this. Almost 19,000 health, almost 36,000 stam. I would be able to get a little bit more stamina out of that, closer to maybe 27,000. Again, I don't have undaunted passives either. And then our weapon damage is pretty low, about 2,500, and our weapon crate is 67.5. This isn't an issue. This build does not revolve around having high weapon damage, and I'll let you know right now that this purple armor that I'm wearing is already doing more damage than my gold Hunting's Rage. That just goes to show that weapon damage is not as big in PvE as it is in PvP. A lot of people will stack really high weapon damage in PvP. It works well because there's a lot of ways to reduce crit, um, shields, and pin armor, all that kind of stuff. So straight up spell damage or weapon damage may be beneficial, as well as reducing armor. That's also really important. I have a PvP build revolving around reducing someone's armor, which is a lot of fun. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is weapon damage is not as strong as everyone thinks it is. There's a lot you have to keep in mind when it comes to pulling high DPS. And when I say DPS, um, it's all about damage per second. That's what that stands for. It's not about having high weapon damage. And a lot of people will say, and I hear a lot of people saying it all the time on PlayStation. It drives me crazy. Someone will ask, what's your DPS at? What's your DPS? And they're like, oh yeah, I have 6,000. And we're like, ew. If you have 6,000 DPS, you're terrible. You're just saying your DPS is your weapon damage. It's not the same thing. A good number in this patch for DPS is 30k or higher. That would be the target. So a way you can test this is with blood spawn parse. Just go into blood spawn with a tank and a healer and just time yourself, see how fast you can kill it, and do some simple math, and you can figure out how hard you're hitting or how hard your DPS is. So now that I went over that, let's go over some champion points. This is really important. I am at 501 champion points this patch. So blue tree, nothing apprentice, nothing atronach. These two aren't really important. Now for the mage, I kind of rounded up all my percentages. It's just something I like to do. So I have 78 into mighty. I'm not sure if this is exactly the best setup, but this is how I like it. So 78 into mighty, that's going to give me 21% extra physical, poison, disease damage. Translate to everything what we're doing. Everything is poison and disease, and a couple is physical. So that's really nice. Thaumaturge. I put a lot into Thaumaturge this patch because I'm going to get that 16% extra bonus to all my dots. And on this bar I have Caltrops, it's 1, Endless Hail 2, Acid Sprays 3, Switch Bars, Poison Injections 4, Lethal Arrows 5, Trap Beast is 6, and then Dawnbreaker is 7. So we're running lots of dots, and they're really easy to maintain all these dots because we're also spamming some of these abilities, like Lethal Arrow. It's our main spammable ability, and it's also a dot. It's really nice. So lots of Thaumaturge points to get 16%. And then I have 35 into Precise Strikes, 12% extra weapon crit damage. I don't put a lot into here just because we don't have really high crit. It's not even over 70%. So I may play around with some blood spawn parses and try to optimize my DPS even more. May move some points out of Precise Strikes and put either into Thaumaturge and Mighty. So this isn't final, it's just what I've come up with real fast. It's what I like. And then again, 1 into Piercing, not really important. You can put that point anywhere. So moving on to red. Right now I have a 3-way split in the lady, 40 into Hardy, 40 into Elemental Defender, 40 into Thick Skins. Probably gonna just switch this back to 60 Hardy, 60 Elemental Defender. I was just playing around with this. But what's important is to get Unchained. After breaking CC, you're gonna be able to get a free Caltrops or a free Vigor or whatever. It's really nice. And then 40 into Quick Recovery. This is gonna help your healer keep you up. It's really nice. Also helps in PvP. 7 into Expert Defender. Not really sure why I have any points into here, but I'm just gonna go ahead and move these around now. So I think I was playing around with Expert Defender because a lot of attacks in this game with ads, trash pulls, stuff like that, they're just slider heavy attacking. They're not really using abilities like players are using. So I'm going to put 60 into Hardy, 60 into Elemental Defender. the rest into quick recovery. So now into Green Tree. I have 78 into Mooncalf, just to get 21% stam recovery. The only reason why I do this is because I'm just really used to the Master Gatherer passive, the reduced gathering times by 50%. It's really nice. I can't pass it up, but if you don't care for that, I would say about 37 points into Mooncalf. The recovery isn't going to be as good as the Warlord passive, reduced cost of stamina abilities. This is going to be more beneficial. So I have 80 into here. The rest I put into tumbling. 4% reduced cost of rule dodge, which I'm also wearing all well-fitted armor, so I can roll dodge pretty much forever. And that's everything for CP. Okay, so that pretty much concludes my stamina PvE bow builds for the Dark Brotherhood patch. I'm really enjoying this setup. It's really hitting a lot harder this patch than it did last patch, especially with the Morag Tong and Hawkeye set. Really happy that's bet 16. Hopefully in the future we'll be able to get that into Vines or Infused. Any questions about the build, please comment below in the comment section. I answer everyone who comments on my videos, or at least I try to. I haven't really had a lot of comments, so I'm able to answer any questions, and any comments on my videos about how I can improve, I will gladly accept any advice. I really want to start pushing out more videos. I have a stamina DK. That was my first character. It used to be a tank, and I switched over to DPS. Really been enjoying that. I also have a magic and sorcerer. Be making a build on that, as well as the Stam Sword, which is going to be mostly used for PvP. I have a Magic and Nightblade, which is also a lot of fun, working on getting Magic Adept for her right now. And I believe that's all my characters. I also have a Templar tank, which I used to have a Dragonite tank, and that was a lot of fun, but it just got really boring for me, so I wanted to make something different this patch, and I went with a Templar tank, and I have to say it's the most fun I've had with tanking in a long time. It's really a lot of fun. So that's pretty much it for this build, so please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And I will see you all next time.